Alright guys, so last week iRacing became the first sim racing title to officially support Fanatec Full Force. As soon as it dropped, I was all over it with my first impressions. And I'll be honest, I was pretty hyped, and I think a lot of you were too. But now that I've had some time to fine-tune the settings, dig into the details, and even test out the firmware updates, it's time to answer the real question. Is Full Force actually worth using, or was all that hype just smoke and mirrors? Let's find out. So last week I kind of rushed my initial impressions of the Full Force testing in iRacing, and I told you guys that I was going to play around with the settings and do an update video. And I've learned a lot of things since. You guys may have noticed in that first video that I didn't update the firmware. And since then I have updated the firmware, but one thing I learned is the firmware update's actually what dulled the power of the Full Force. So if you guys aren't familiar, Fanatec did say that it was going to be less powerful than the demo versions. Well, that's that firmware update. So I feel like I got to experience Full Force at Full Force, and now I get it at Dull Force. But overall, it's given me an opportunity to start playing around with the INI file and figure out what feels really good right now and give you guys a little bit of feedback. That's another thing that was a complete oversight on my part in the last video is I didn't really get into modding the INI file. That being said, once I did, I didn't agree with any of the settings in it. It just didn't feel right to me. So now that I've had a little bit of time with it, I'm going to share the INI file settings with you guys and just give you a little bit of quick feedback on how I feel about Full Force after getting it dialed in. Now, I think I said I want to keep this video fairly quick because I already covered my initial impressions. First off, I want to share with you guys, you can see here all my firmware is updated, all my drivers are updated, everything's updated in the Fanatec app. Another thing that I've confirmed is all of this doesn't mean anything. Like from the game standpoint, the only thing that really matters is when in the tuning menu, what you tune Full Force to. But outside of that, all these other buttons are just for testing. The game actually controls the effects, so you can pretty much ignore anything in there. Now, to set up iRacing in the INI file, you're going to go to your iRacing documents folder, and then go to the app INI. You could open that in something like Notepad. I already have it open, so when we jump in here, you're going to look for True Force. And basically, here's the settings I went with. It's very different from what Fanatec recommended. You'll notice like the body accelerations at -15, drive shafts at -30, engine RPMs at -15, gear changes only at 6, rev limiter at 5, and then road texture and rumble are probably going to be the two biggest ones you would feel in a racing wheel. So that's going to be at 15 and 20. I went a little overboard with the rumble strip just because I felt like it was missing something. And then wheel slip I have set at 8. Typically I have my inverted V3 pedals. Those give me all of the wheel information I need using the haptics on those. So really what I want is road rumble, rumble strip, a little tiny bit of RPMs, and maybe a gear change. That's basically the settings I'm going with now. And then we'll jump in and I'll show you guys a little bit more on just what I'm feeling in the rig. And I'm going to try to make this really quick. Now, before I jump into the car, one other thing that I didn't really go over, you can go into your miscellaneous menu and you actually have LFE controls. The use physics option, when I turned that off, it wasn't working in the previous video. Now that I've updated the firmware, you can turn it off, but it feels terrible and there's no point in doing it. So leave that checked. And then, of course, I have my main volume now that the wheel's been dulled down up to 5 decibels so that I can actually feel the feedback. Basically, that's the only settings you have access to. That's why you have to modify the INI file. Now, going into the rig, this is the part that I'm most interested in sharing with you guys. So, engine rev, only at about max RPMs do I really get any vibration. There's a very subtle amount. Otherwise, like you can feel it with RPMs engaged, but it's so subtle that it's not making much of a difference. Now, when it comes to road vibration, I'm definitely getting a lot of feel, and in a race car, you would expect a nice rigid feel on the road. And unlike previously when I tested this, I get a good vibration over rumble strips and curbs. Like, I can actually feel that pretty decently. I would like to be able to feel it a little bit more, but I think until we get that next update, that's just not going to be an option. Now, initially I said it wasn't worth upgrading for Full Force, and I'm not saying necessarily that it is, but I will tell you this much. Having played with this a bit and just spent some time using it and tuning it, I feel like it's an extra layer of immersion that wasn't there before. And like right now, if I didn't have Full Force on, that would just be a nice smooth road. I mean, I would get a little bit of choppiness in the wheel and stuff like that, but being able to feel the texture of the road and feel it increase with RPMs and with speed and just getting all of those extra senses, it definitely doesn't make using the wheel less immersive. Like, overall, I would say it's a great addition to the wheel. I wasn't overly impressed initially, but like I said, at the time I wasn't getting any depth at all from it. Having spent some time tuning it and really dialing things in. Now, this is just based on what I think it would feel or should feel like. This isn't necessarily going to be right for everybody, but I challenge each of you to take some time, really play with that INI file, and find a median that works for you. In the meantime, I keep telling you guys this Cup Car 2.0 build is coming. I have some exciting announcements to make next week, so make sure you guys follow the channel for the ultimate Cup Car 2.0 build, and I will see you guys on the track.